Hey all, it's Tony Volpicello. This is the Career Jigsaw Podcast. Welcome back to Season 3, Episode 7, Mom, Manager, and Minority, Navigating It All. Let's dive right in. So I've known today's guest for a number of years. We worked for the same company before I retired. She's a listener of the podcast. She has a voice with something to say, and she offered to join the podcast to share that voice. I immediately said yes, and here we are. She's a mom, she's a minority, and she's in a leadership position in banking. Hey, Luna, welcome to the podcast. Please tell our audience a little bit more about you.
Hi, Tony. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited and thrilled that I get to join you in your podcast. And as you mentioned, my name is Luna, and I have 18 years in the banking industry, which will probably date me and put my age out there if I say when I started. But I am a minority woman. I'm Dominican. Grew up in the Bronx with a single mom of 3 young little girls. I currently have 3 boys, a 14-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and still live in New York. Not quite in the city, but still part of this amazing state.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing a little bit about you. So let's dive in and talk about the career so far. So you mentioned banking, which I know for many, if not most, is not the job you dream of when you're a kid. You don't grow up thinking, oh, I want to be a banker. So I'm just kind of curious, that path that led you to banking, did you plan on it? Were you inspired by it? Did you fall into it? How did you get into banking?
That's a great question. And I like to say it was just coincidence. I was very young in college at the time and needed a job to help me through college. College can be very expensive. And so I came across this banking opportunity. It was a teller position, a part-time teller position, 20 hours. And I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to apply. I have some experience with cash handling from a previous job at a supermarket and a retail store. So I said, why not? I could be a CSR. It was never meant to be a career, but very short into my path in banking, I really fell in love with it and met great leaders who inspired me. And so here I am 18 years later.
Well, it's funny, you and I have that in common because I too started as a 20-hour part-time teller with, I guess, similar background experience. I worked in restaurants, managed a liquor store, but had kind of the same goals of stability, to try to get what I called, quote unquote, a real job. So it's funny how many of us bankers start that way with just kind of falling into it. And then it's 18, 20, for me, 35 years later, and we're still into it and making it a successful career. Hey, so we'll talk more about you and where you are now, but just for the audience, describe a little bit more about your current role.
So I like to say that it's the equivalent of a district manager. That's the easiest way to explain it. And I even share it that way with my family. I currently oversee 14 locations, and there's a total of about 100 associates that I support. A day in the life of what I do in my job is I'm in the field a lot. I have a lot of face-to-face time with any individual associate in any of the locations. But I also speak to clients, and whether that is face-to-face or over the phone, very involved in the activities that happened each day in the locations that I currently manage.
Isn't it amazing to think back at when you and I were tellers, again, just trying to get this part-time job and some benefits and steady pay, that now over 100 people depend on you. Isn't that an amazing feeling? And in my cases, there were times I was like, my God, this is hard to believe.
Oh, absolutely. It's a little crazy sometimes, especially when you start the way that we did, which it wasn't the career path that we thought we were going to have. And then now looking back at the trajectory of the years and the different roles and everything that it took to get to where I'm at right now, it's crazy. It's amazing. But looking back at it, it's like, wow, I am here and can't wait to see what happens in the next 18 years.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit more about that look back. That leads me to my next question. You know, when I look back on moments, I'm very aware of how they could have gone differently. And maybe at the time, you don't even realize it. So I'm curious what I would call these fork in the road moments. Did you have any of these moments, these decisions in your career that got you to where you are today?
Oh, absolutely. I think that one of the pivotal moments that I had in my career that helped me get to where I'm at today is that I started to advocate for myself and taking control of my career path. I stopped waiting for promotions and opportunities, and I really positioned myself for roles that I wanted. So I would look back and to my previous role, and I made a decision where I said, okay, I know what I want to do next. What are the things that are going to align me to be ready for this opportunity when it arises, rather than not taking any action until the opportunity was opened? And so really advocating for myself, putting myself in those positions, surrounding myself with leaders that not only pour knowledge into me, but also advocated for me in rooms that I was not sitting in, was very important and pivotal for my career.
You know, it is great advice, and you're right. No one will advocate for us more than ourselves. And as much as performing well and doing a good job should lead to success, it's always, in many cases, not enough. Hey, I'm just curious. So you were aware of the job you wanted, the job you were going for. You worked on being ready to take it on. In terms of others around you, you know, especially your boss or other managers, was there anything you specifically did to make sure they were aware of your goals too?
Oh, yes. I share that with them. I said, hey, I want to be this, right? So I want to be a district manager. What are some of the steps that I need to take to get there? And the leaders that I was sharing this with were either in that position or had experienced that position. And so in me sharing what I wanted to do next, also allow them to help me from their perspective and guide me and influence me and share some of the things that they themselves did before getting into the next position. That eventually helped me understand the business differently and allow me to see what were my strengths, what were my opportunities, and how I move forward and focusing in the right direction.
Oh, that's great. I'm just curious, when you look back on that, was there a key moment where before that moment, you weren't sharing with your boss what you wanted to do next? And then after you were, was there something that just changed you in making sure you were really vocal about your career goals?
Yeah, so, I had applied for a position and didn't get it. And the person who got it, I didn't think that they should have gotten it. And I think that that's just a human nature thing. When you apply for something and don't get it, and then you find out who does, you kind of look at them and say, well, why are you and not me?
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed that that person was very vocal about what they wanted to do and asked for more responsibility and was really good at their current job so that they can also gain more responsibility and have different exposure. And so I said, okay, how do I become that? How do I now share what I want to do, but also have a purpose to it? And so once I didn't get that position, and then said to myself, okay, you have to share what you want to do, because you just picked up the phone and called your leader and said, hey, I'm applying for this position, but they had no idea that you were even interested. So I think that you're setting yourself up for failure if you don't speak to your direct leader and say what you want to do next.
Yeah, I think you're right. When it becomes that partnership where you're working on it together, that's the best case scenario. So awesome feedback. Thanks for sharing that. All right, so let's stay on the early years and maybe go back a bit. I'm curious, along the way, were there any key challenges that you faced early on? And if you did have any, what'd you do to overcome them?
So I think in any industry, you're going to be faced with challenges, and some you're going to know about because others have shared their experiences. And then there are times where challenges are just going to come out of nowhere. But I think one of the biggest things for me is to stay focused on really what you want to accomplish. And saying it, it's much easier than when you're experiencing it. But if you know what you want to do and what career path you want to achieve, then staying focused on that, it's really going to help you navigate through some of those challenges. One example that I can give for me, it was networking. I thought that if I did my job and I was the best at my job, then of course I was going to get recognized and get promoted and, continue to grow. However, that's important, but it's not the all. You have to put yourself out there and you have to network and you have to build relationship with people in your industry, people outside, leadership, people that are really going to help you be successful, or just someone that you can pick up the phone and say, hey, I saw this position or I'm having this issue, that they can then help you with the situation and the challenge. And so early on, I didn't network at all. And as I grew and as I learned and started seeing how important to have those relationships can be, then I started putting myself out there. And even doing this, Tony, even joining you on a podcast, to me it's a challenge. I've never done this before, but I think that there's a purpose to this, and it would teach me something. And when I reflect back at it, I'm sure that all the knowledge that I'm gaining from speaking to you and from doing this, and I can also share it with others who might be on the same journey.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And it's great advice about the networking piece, because you're right. It's something that is part of the equation, and it's a necessary skill. And there's networking, and then there's being good at networking. And that's two different things, because you can network, but it not be effective and not help you achieve and grow a constituency around you that's supporting you. And then you can network well, where it's causing a good effect on you and paying off. So I think it's great advice. Thank you for sharing that. Let's reflect a little bit more on the whole career so far. I'm curious what the most rewarding part has been.
There's so many parts of my career that are rewarding, but if I have to say one, it would be helping others achieve success. And that can be applied to so many different things, whether it's success in their position that they have right now, finding the right position, opening doors, sharing ideas or obstacles, helping others overcome things that to them might seem really hard at the time. But with my advice and my experience, being able to navigate together through those obstacles, I really enjoy the face-to-face connections that I make and to stay connected with the associates and the people that I come across. It's one of the most rewarding part for me because I am a people's person. I like to help others and elevate others. And so that part of my career really sticks to me and is very close to my heart.
I had a feeling you might bring up the people piece, and I'm glad you did, because I agree with you. If you know impacting other people's lives is important and makes you feel good. I have this saying that has worked well for me over the years. If you can't do what you love, you and I didn't grow up wanting to be bankers. I would love to have been a golfer. I'm sure there's other things you would love to have done more. But if you can't do what you love, try to find love in what you do. And if you can channel that, in this case, love of developing people and seeing them achieve their dreams into this type of role, that's kind of the best case scenario. So thanks for sharing that. I'm not surprised, but I'm so happy you shared it. So the podcast for me is focused on helping listeners through advice or through others' experiences. So I'm curious, knowing what you know now, what advice do you have for our listeners just starting out?
There isn't a one shoe fits all effect. There isn't a straight line to say, this is the next career, this is the next role, this is the next role, and continues. There's so many bumps in the road that all serves a purpose for you to then end up where you need to be. And so I would tell my younger self, even when there's a hard stop and you feel that things are not aligned and what you thought was going to be the path isn't, reflect on that and take a step back. Because then when you move forward, years from when that situation happened, you're going to look back and then thank and say, oh, I'm happy it went this way, because not only did I come out better, but I experienced something different, and I'm able to now help others navigate through certain situations where they might feel that they're stuck.
So you mentioned before, you're not only a mom, you're not only a banker, but you're a Dominican woman. And as a minority, I would be remiss if we didn't talk more about that so our audience can benefit from it. So what advice do you have for other minority women out there who are aspiring, especially in your case, to move into a leadership role?
There's a couple of things that I would mention. The first thing is own your story and your strengths. Your background and experiences are not obstacles. They are your superpower, I like to say. And the resilience and adaptability and the problem solving skills you've developed give you a leadership edge and really make you uniquely you. So never underestimate the value of your unique perspective, because that is going to enhance your leadership skills. I would also add there, build confidence and speak up. I think that, speaking from experience, in my households, we were told from a very young age, if this conversation does not apply to you, you don't speak, right? And so at times, in different environments or in corporate environments, we tend to stay shut because we're being told, hey, don't speak. It's not your turn to speak. And sometimes you're not going to get a turn. Sometimes you just have to talk. And so always speak up, especially if it's for yourself and for your career, as well as finding mentors and sponsors. I think that networking also is part of that. So seeking out mentors who can guide you, and sponsors who will advocate for you behind closed doors and in rooms that you're not yet sitting in. Those three things were very important to me, and I think can help others achieve success.
Terrific advice. I could not agree more. And thank you for being honest and for being so straightforward and sharing that advice. I want to follow up a bit. And I talked about this a few episodes ago in last season when we had a panel discussion where we talked about women in the workplace, the challenges they face. So I'm curious. We talk a lot about what women can do differently, what the employees should do differently, etc. And you just shared examples like advocating for yourself, having a mentor, developing a strong network. But what can others around you also do? So more directly, and I apologize if this is a bad phrase, but what can a non-minority do to help the situation and help minorities achieve what they want to achieve?
Oh, that's a great question. And thank you so much for asking me that, because we don't get asked that very often. But I think that something that others can't do, it's advocate for minority women to be in leadership positions and speak about their unique strengths in places that they are not sitting in. Sometimes it feels like we are advocating for ourselves, and it's hard to do that. And so having individuals with a different background advocate for us, help us, and open doors for us that normally would not be open is a way to help us achieve not just leadership positions, but I think any position in general.
Yeah, I agree. It's honestly, it's one of the reasons among many that I wanted to have you on the podcast when you volunteered, to have that voice, to be obviously supporting it. So thank you for that advice. I think it's great advice for our audience. So what unique strengths do you bring to your leadership role as a minority woman?
Tony, my upbringing has given me a deep sense of resilience, adaptability, empathy, all qualities that directly shaped me to be the leader that I am today. Growing up in a low income household with a single mother of three girls, I've learned early on how to navigate challenges and be resourceful, but have determination. We needed to have determination to figure things out. And so those experiences allow me to lead with empathy, and I can connect with people from all walks of life because I've lived through financial hardships, systematic barriers, and really having determination for where I wanted to be. And so this perspective helps me foster an inclusive environment where people feel valued, they feel heard, and also supported, which is also very important. I was able to navigate through different perspectives of life, and seeing my mother have limited resources, but still getting things done really allowed me to become natural at problem solving and critical thinking and maximizing the every opportunity. And so I use the same mindset in leadership, whether it's driving results or mentoring others or finding innovative ways to overcome obstacles. All of my experiences that I grew up with really helped me become the leader that I am today. And I really want others to think about all of the things that happened to them growing up, good, bad, some of the struggles. Really think about how those struggles have helped you become a better person today and really see the world from a different perspective.
That is fascinating. I didn't know what I was going to get from that question in your answer, but you relating your life experiences and being able to say, here's how I applied them at work, and that they are a strength and a benefit, like your empathy perspective, your problem-solving skills, and I'm sure you went through many challenges and problems you had to solve, is an amazing perspective to share and great feedback for the audience. Absolutely love the link between life and work experiences. Thank you for making it real. I have a somewhat uncomfortable question to ask because I'm asking it from the perspective of a white male who, yes, had his own challenges, but didn't have the challenges many others face along the way. My question relates to women in the workplace. So just my observation, so please feel free to push back, validate, or have a conversation. So my observation was many of the women that I had the privilege to coach and give feedback to weren't always bringing their genuine self to the workplace. I wouldn't say they were trying too hard, but I would say they weren't always being themselves. So I'm curious, what do you think of that observation, and any advice for the working women out there as it relates to leaving too much of themselves at home?
Absolutely, and I've been there. We are taught very early on, or at least I was taught very, very early on, not to mix home with work. When you're at work, you're at work. When you're at home, you're at home. And that applies for certain areas of our job. However, what has helped me grow even more, it's being authentically myself. Continue to be very respectful and very professional in a work environment. But bringing myself to work has allowed me to not only connect very, very impactful with others, but has allowed me to reach a point where people know who I am and not just see this kind of fake persona that we built at work at some point, and really see me for a person more so than their manager. Everybody at work knows that I have children, that I have a dog, that I have a partner who I love, and all of the little things that I share have allowed me to become even closer with my team. However, they do know we have a business to run, and they do know that we have certain things that we need to accomplish. But I think that when we do that, when we leave ourselves at home, it becomes challenging and difficult because you feel that you need to turn on the switch and make yourself be someone that you're not. And so the best advice I can give anyone is be yourself. As long as you're being respectful, like I mentioned, conducting yourself in a great way in a professional environment, you can bring yourself authentically to work, and it will make a difference with the people that are seeing you at work. If you manage someone or you're just a peer, it would show them transparency, which I think connects you further with people.
Well, thank you for your honesty. And you said one word more than once that I think captures what I was trying to capture. You did a way better job than I could have, which is authenticity. And I think you're right. People want to work for people and with people that are authentic. They're down to earth. Yes, you're right. We have a job to do. But I have found that when you bring more of yourself to work, others around you also give you the best that they can. And I think that's kind of the perfect match. So thank you for the tough question. You hit it out of the park and handled it incredibly well. So thank you. Let's talk a little bit about when the going gets tough. We have talked so far about some of the good things. We've talked about when some curveballs come our way. But I know I've lived through times where my confidence was shaken or not where it could have been. So have you ever had a similar situation? And if so, any advice on maintaining confidence during a difficult time?
Well, absolutely. I think we've all been there, and it can knock you out really quickly. But the advice that I would give is focus on what you can control. You can't, for no reason at all, control everything. Not every situation or no situation at all is perfect. But you can control your response, your effort, your attitude in certain situations. So focus with what's within your power and let go of what isn't. Because I believe oftentimes we focus on a lot of different things, and some of those things can be out of our control. However, I think that mindset needs to change in order for you to have success. Think about past challenges you've overcome, and how those past challenges can then help you with the current situation that you're facing or with your confidence. And one thing that I like to do sometimes is, it's as funny as it sounds, I sometimes talk to myself and I'm like, okay, what's happening? Why are you not confident? What challenge are you facing? Is it that you don't know the audience and you feel that it's a challenge? Is it that you don't feel confident about talking about this topic because you didn't do your homework and you didn't prepare correctly for this? And so I do that to kind of elevate myself and think out loud, because if I hear myself talk, I think that it makes a difference. But any little thing that you can do that helps you navigate through these things that you've learned about yourself, definitely apply it. But I think going back to what I mentioned earlier is focus on what you can control at that moment.
Yeah, it's simple but straightforward advice, and I happen to completely agree with it, drawing on my own experiences, that you're right. When there's a tough situation, you're faced with something, the best way to not only increase your confidence, but move forward is to focus on the things you can control tomorrow because you cannot control yesterday. So really well said. So again, I would be remiss in my duties if you and I didn't talk a little bit more about what it's like to maintain a work-home life balance as a working mom, a demanding job. So I'm curious, it's a pretty big question, but I'm curious what advice you have to maintain that balance.
Tony, there is no work-life balance.
That's very true. Very true.
There's no such thing. Every time I hear that, I'm like, wait, what? That disappeared a long, long time ago. And, when I transitioned to my current role, it's been 3 years. The first 6 months were very difficult. You have a laptop, you have a phone, you're constantly on. And I think that my children ate chicken nuggets for like 6 months straight because I really didn't focus on anything else other than work. But then I had to learn that that's not right. It's not right for work, because it felt like I was only giving them 50%, and then I was at home and I was only giving my children and my partner 50%. And so something that I learned and that I heard actually from another leader is changing that work-life balance with presence. Meaning, if I am at work, I am 100% present there and I'm giving it my all. Once I get home, I have a cutoff time where I turn off my laptop and put my phone down, and then I am present at that dinner table I am present at that soccer game or being outside in the swings or going for a walk. So I've changed that mindset, and I learned that from actually one of my mentors, another woman in the banking field, where we got into this conversation of work-life balance, and we both agree there isn't one, but you need to make sure that you know when to turn on and off so that you can be present for work and present for family.
So I agree with everything you said, and I appreciate the honesty that you're right. There definitely is not a 50-50 balance. There isn't a balance, but I actually believe that your advice is more powerful than you probably think, because the presence piece is something you can control. So when you are in life and not work, being in the moment, and I wrote down a word as you were talking that I just think kind of captures it, but just disconnecting from work when you're home and home from when you're at work, best you can, of course, allows for that presence, being really mindful of not overlapping the two. And I have a saying that I've kind of lived by over my work career for a very long time that keeps me honest. I work to live, I don't live to work. And that, I think, captures beautifully what you just said about the presence and the disconnecting piece and not overlapping the two. So really powerful advice. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you. I have to write that down. I'm going to write down what you just said, because I think that also I can use that now and share that with someone else.
Well, you know where it helped was the disconnecting piece and realizing much later in my career, being connected to work all the time didn't have that much upside. But the downside was there I am at Disney World with my kids and I'm reading my BlackBerry about work. And how is that benefiting probably either party? Because now I'm annoyed at work. I'm not present in the moment. So work doesn't win. Life doesn't win. So again, keeping in mind, hey, I'm working to provide a great life for my family. I'm not doing it simply because I'm living for the moment and living for work. Always kept me a little more honest, but more of it's in hindsight than it was, in the moment. Let's talk a little bit about you. I'm kind of curious what's next for you as you look at your career, where you want to get better. Would love for just to hear a little bit more about you and what you're focused on.
There's not a one straight answer for this question. Do I want to continue to grow in the current company that I work for? Yes. Do I have ideas that I want to do outside of work? Yes. Can they both happen together? I am not sure. I'm still trying to navigate through those questions in my head and see how everything aligns. But one thing that I always will make sure that I continue to focus on as I grow in my career, it's making sure that I advocate for others and pave the way and open doors as I move forward. I think representation matters. And I do recognize the responsibility that I have to pave the ways for others. And I want to empower and advocate and drive diversity in the current company that I'm employed with. But I also want to do that outside in different ways. And so I don't have a clear answer, as I stated. I don't know what the actual role is going to be. But I do know that my focus is to help others achieve success and continue to grow as well.
Well, I think it's awesome that you're aware of it. You're trying to figure out what today versus tomorrow feels like. You're keeping a foot in both, a foot in today and a foot in tomorrow. And it warmed my heart that you're at this place now of wanting to pay it forward. Because I got to that point. It's honestly why this podcast exists. Because even though I retired, I clearly was very lucky in my career, and the ability to figure out how I can help others, because others clearly helped me, kept me honest and kept me very motivated. So it really warmed my heart to hear you talk about how you're now at this place of focusing on helping those around you. Hey, before we wrap, of course, thank you so much for your time, but any final thoughts before we go?
Oh, thank you. This was amazing. I am open to a part 2 if that's what you want to do. I am here for it, but it's a pleasure to be here. It's great to share my stories, and I hope that when people hear what I share, it resonates, but also allows them to see themselves in a different light and understand that anything that they face and any challenges that come your way, they're going to help you be better at whatever it is that you're setting yourself for.
Well, I have no doubt in my mind it will resonate because you just laid it out so well. Your voice, your passion clearly came through, and I cannot thank you enough for joining today's podcast. Thanks, Luna.
Thank you.
And that concludes another episode of the Career Jigsaw podcast. If you like what you heard, like us, follow us, or check out our website at thecareerjigsaw.com. I'm Tony Volpicello. Thanks for listening. Be safe, all.